we will be able to manufacture a loan just like better, faster, cheaper. We'll be able to deploy AI within the system. We'll be able to have multiple people in the system. We'll be able to have it web-based, task-based, the pricing engines connected into the like native into the LOS. So those are things we're really excited about.
Welcome to Powerhouse, where we interview the biggest names in housing and ask them about their strategy for growth. I'm Diego Sanchez, president of HousingWire. My guest today is Dan Snyder, CEO of Lower and a true powerhouse. Dan, it's so great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You broke the story of your latest acquisition with HousingWire earlier today. Could you tell us more about the Neat Labs purchase?
Yeah, and it was not timed. It just kind of all happened like that. But yeah, today we've been in the news for M&A for some of the mortgage company purchases we did last year. But we're really excited about this. I think it goes back to just as trying to differentiate and redefine like how to do a home purchase, how to do a refi, faster, better, cheaper for the customer and for our originator. We have some really good tech on the front end, but the guts of it, the LOS, the pricing engine. I mean, you're so reliant on the third parties that we kept thinking like, is there a better way? And there really is not very many options out there. And so I had been kind of thinking about it, talking to as many people that were kind of in the know, and I found Neat Labs. And I didn't really know that much about them. I don't know if before, but they had a pretty good story and a longer journey than I had thought of. I mean, they had started in 2015 with like the idea, like many, of really disrupting an industry that was mired in old tech and lots of band-aiding of systems. And so they started with building out point of sale. Then they built out the whole LOS. Then they built out a whole pricing engine. They were licensed. They had originators and the whole shoot and match. They ultimately, I think, did over $1 billion worth of loans. And then rates spiked up. They kind of pivoted. Here they are looking for an acquirer, and we were, I think, an aligned, a good fit, and made it happen. So we're really excited about the future. I mean, it's something that's not, it's not like we're going to be able to, just like hit a button and start using it overnight. It's going to be, a gradual, introduction into our existing environment. And then ultimately, though, we're hoping that by the end of the year, 90% of our loans are going through that system. Maybe some of the niche stuff is still in our legacy, but it at least moves us lower forward with controlling our own destiny, which is really what we were hoping to do.
Yeah, that's a lot of the tech guts at a lender right there in one acquisition. And it's interesting because as a company that has really been built through several acquisitions, I imagine there's a debate each time you make an acquisition. Do we pull everyone onto our tech platform? People get very used to their own tech platforms, especially, top LOs. How do you think about that as maybe you make more acquisitions in the future or even dealing with your previous acquisitions?
Well, I mean, I think it should. I mean, we really were built, organically, same store sales growth for years and years. And then we just sit with a pretty unique value prop. I mean, it's my co-founder, Mike, and I, we're still owner led and owner owned. It's just that we have, pretty big partners behind us that are, while they're minority, they're very, they're deep pockets and they really want to see us change the industry. So SoFi is an investor in us. Veritex Bank is an investor in us. They're publicly traded on the NASDAQ. And then Excel, which is a big Silicon Valley venture capital firm. And so when, we're doing our plan, we had never really acquired anybody until really last year, towards the end of 23 into 24, it started to make sense because you had maybe some, retiring owners that had done a really good job, like the Joneses at Thrive. And we had said, hey, look, like maybe we can, roll in, what you've built and we'll take good care of it. And we were able to do that. Now, how do you integrate it successfully? There's a pull people side, there's an operational flow side, there's the tech side.
Yeah.
And, it's not, even if everyone uses, say, Encompass or Optimal Blue, maybe each company is slightly different. So this, we think, lower OS, which will be our own proprietary end-to-end tech with no, it's not tech over top of Encompass. It'll be its own native, cloud-based, task-based. It's pretty incredible, honestly. Everyone will kind of move into that, ultimately as our existing environment and future acquisitions, acqui-hires, you name it.
So how do you think about CRM with respect to the rest of that tech stack, which you're going to now have in-house? Do you continue to partner around CRM, or are you potentially acquisitive in that area as well?
And we'll probably partner, but I think what you'll find is that, our goal is to make it so seamless. I mean, and right now, a lot of these systems do well with connecting, but the more connections, it becomes, you get some level of disruption. So if it's your CRM's connected to the point of sale, it's connected to Encompass, it's connected to Optimal Blue and the pricing, and then your servicing platform, and then your post-closing. And then if you introduce multiple CRMs and multiple point of sales, I mean, it's hard to have a lot of good, data integrity, like really knowing where that customer is in their journey. And that's something we're really passionate about. Like, we want to make sure that, if we're doing all these home purchases right now, that their customers coming back to the originator that helped them when they want to do a refi. And with our own end-to-end stack and maybe the best-in-class CRM, like, we should be able to do it at a higher efficiency rate than our competitors, or at least get into that level of what that a Rocket can do, which is, I think, going to be important for whether you're coming to us online or you're working through one of our local offices.
We've seen other lenders that have built proprietary tech stacks where it's not layered over something else. It's really their own tech stack. We've seen some of those lenders go to market and, sell that tech stack to other lenders. Is that something that you're thinking about, or are you focused on, hey, this is the tech stack for the lower team?
I mean, it's going to be a tech stack for us. I mean, I think that we're really going to be committed to making sure that it is deploying first principles. Like, what do we actually need to manufacture the loan as quickly and as compliantly and as secure as possible, and nothing more? We're not going to try to, I think the minute you start, that's probably why a lot of Encompass or Simple Nexus, or they're meant to be used by hundreds of companies. So you can't, it's hard to tailor it specifically. So we're not trying to become a software provider, that's for sure. How do we make it more efficient? And I'll never forget, I was golfing at an event, like an industry type event, and one of the people was a technologist at Rocket. And he had heard of Lower. He's like, you guys are doing some cool stuff. And I think two other big lenders were with me. And this guy from Rocket was like, you'll never compete with us. To us. And we're like, why? He's like, well, with Encompass, it's a 1-to-1. Like, you can only get one person in a file. We can get, 89 people in every single file. And it's just by that sheer nature of efficiency, like, think about it. And we were all like, all right. I mean, and it's part of the kind of the industry quagmire. I mean, you've got, Encompass, and we'll probably continue to use Encompass for some loans. I mean, honestly, it's just because it can serve every single type of everything. But if you really want to think about how do you do a loan in 10 days, how do you crunch down on that cost? we will be able to manufacture a loan just like better, faster, cheaper because of, we'll be able to deploy AI within the system. We'll be able to have multiple people in the system. We'll be able to have it web-based, task-based, the pricing engine's connected into the native into the LOS. So those are things we're really excited about. And, it should help with our existing production and be an attractor to those that are a bit frustrated with the tech that they're working off of.
Could you unpack the cost crunching down a little bit? Because the way I think about it is, you're not beholden to Encompass or another one of the LOS providers, but you do need to build up that internal tech team, and engineers are expensive. So where do you see those costs dropping as you build out this tech stack internally? I think you mentioned 20% cost reductions post acquisition to Flavia this morning.
Yeah, hopefully more. Honestly, I mean, I think that if you're going to be a lender of size, most that use Encompass still have software developers that are working to make Encompass better, or connect the systems, or try to do some level of innovation. So like that, everyone's doing that. Plus, you're having to pay 140, 150, whatever the price is per loan. Plus, you've got a point of sale that needs to make money. Plus, you've got other connectors inside the system. Like maybe it's there's a lot of really good vendors out there that provide a solution within that tech that, is either a user-based or a loan-based, that it just keeps adding up. Then you take credit cost, that keeps going up. And so all of a sudden we're not far away from most lenders having to pay $1,000 to fund a loan just with systems cost and credit, right? I mean, and so, yes, are we going to have more software developers? Yes. We're going to have certain, vendors to support it for compliance and otherwise. Yes. But doing the math at scale, it's far cheaper to own it yourself.
And, you did the Thrive Mortgage acquisition about a year ago. And I want to talk more about that in a moment, but would love to understand, now that you are building out this, what sounds like a pretty amazing internal tech stack, are you looking at other lenders that you can buy and then attach to this neat tech stack?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've learned a lot after every one of the acquisitions we've done. I think we've done them all pretty well, but it's like that next one will do better. And not to say there is a next one. It's just, look, the market hasn't gotten any easier. And, if you were contemplating last year, like, you know what, maybe I could take some money off the table. Maybe I can, maybe my team would be better off with a larger company, whatever that is. I'm not just saying for us, you're certainly going to entertain that more than ever right now with the 10-year skyrocketing, rates high. It's just a tough environment. So we're going to be opportunistic and keep leaning forward. And I also think that the number one question that I get outside of, okay, is it a good culture fit, is how's your tech? Is it going to help us do more loans? Like, is it going to help us differentiate and redefine? And now, we'll be able to say, yeah. I mean, we always have had a really, really best-in-class front end. Like, we've designed our own point of sale, our own kind of document management for the borrower experience, because that's very lacking with some of the providers, in our opinion. Now we blend that into the full, our full end-to-end solution. And then as part of this, we get a great, talented CTO as part of this. And Steve, he was the head of product at Maxwell. He was the CTO of Neat, and just a really, really, really talented person that probably needs more, industry attention. Like, when I got to meet him and, our engineering team toured their system. I was just waiting for them to not like it. It's like typically like I was waiting for our team to be like, Dan, this is garbage, like, and it was the exact opposite. They're like, wow, this is really smartly built. Very, it's like we can get our head around this. So that's been also really fun to have our teams all kind of combine and start cranking.
So what do you think is the product roadmap or timeline for being in a place where, and I know it's early, so it might be tough to answer this question, but being in a place where it is a somewhat cohesive experience going from POS to LOS and integrating the capital markets engine into that?
We think that it'll be stood up, enough testing and piloting. We'll be ready by Q4 middle of the year to start testing it. And by Q4, we'll I'm saying 90% of our loans are going through it. So that would be great.
Super.
Maybe it's a little bit longer. I mean, but by purchase season of 26, we should be full go.
That's just really neat. Congratulations on that deal. I want to talk a little bit about your last acquisition of Thrive Mortgage. Really interesting acquisition as well. From your perspective, now that you're about a year into that one, what are some of the highlights and some of the lowlights of that experience? Pretty sizable deal.
The hardest part has been, the integration of people. For better or worse, we think better. I mean, we really approached it like, not that, like we knew everything, which I think really helpful. So like Thrive had, obviously their CEO, Celine, became our chief operating officer out of the gates. And that wasn't like part of the deal. It was just, she's super talented. And we were really thought it was a great move, and it's been a phenomenal move. She's been just, and then the list kind of goes on. Like we approached it where the best person wins. And there's a lot of folks from Thrive that are running big corporate roles with us, whether it's from production to operations and in between. And some, a lot of our talent at Lower that are, that are running things. And we're all one company now. I mean, that's how we're really approaching it. That's why I say it's difficult, because there's a fear. Here, I underestimated the fear on our side. Like here we are acquiring this company, and I felt like for sure Thrive is going to be scared. Like, how are we going to treat them? Who's going to get let go? All that stuff. I didn't think our team would be scared, but it was just kind of a, it's like that fear of uncertainty, even if. And so, look, we did a lot of messaging, a lot of internal communications, probably overly communicated, and it all worked out really well. We're so much better off. And I feel like we were able to bring on, every single originator joined, we were able to, and it was a very meaningful, move. I mean, I think that we got territory that we weren't a part of. We got leadership that's fantastic. We got a ton of individual contributors that are like just doing so well, and brought a lot of shared best practices to the table to make us better. I mean, and I think that's what you really hope for, instead of we're only hiring, we're only doing this for the production. I mean, it's staying open-minded, just trying to calm the fears down. That's probably the hardest part.
From the outside, I had a lot of admiration for this blending of the leadership team. HousingWire is fairly acquisitive as well. And I know how challenging that can be. People develop their own ways of leading and doing things, and to mesh two things together, even if there's a good cultural fit, sometimes at the leadership level can still be difficult. Do you have any tips for how to do that? Like how did your team gel together? Was it messy at times?
Yeah, I mean, as I think Amir said this to me once. He's like, you have this messy middle. Luckily, it's when you have really smart people that come together and there is a level of messiness. Eventually, people don't love the chaos, and so they want it to be. So then you start getting in this level of like, okay, let's come up with a really good, solid path forward. Like even on small things, whether it's brand or marketing or recruiting strategy, whatever it may be. And so I think that's part of it. Is I tried as a leader to not be so prescriptive, just kind of let it gel and know that, look, we're adults. Everyone really wants the best for themselves, their family, the company at the end. And therefore, just deep breath and it'll all work out. And, it did work out in the first week? No, but, say within 60, 90 days, people were settled down. People were, all of a sudden Celine wasn't the outsider anymore. I mean, they were like, they saw her work and they saw her put points on the board. And that's really what we focused on was points on the board. So my advice is it's no different than if Thrive would have remained Thrive and lower. If you, whatever your role is, can you be the best at the role? And then everything else will follow suit. No different than in sports. No different than at HousingWire. You guys acquire somebody, something, bring on a great prolific writer. Well, let's see, right. Let's go. It's not, let's just talk a big game and not put up points. So that's really what happened. I mean, I had within the first 90 days, not even like first month, longtime team members of mine and my partner, Mike, were coming up to us and being like, this person's the real deal. Like I've learned more in the last 3 weeks than I have, in the last 3 years from Celine or someone like that. I mean, that's just, then it's like, okay, good.
Yeah, I really like that. Now, you mentioned Amir Sayed, your chief growth officer. You also recently hired Dustin Owen as your SVP of growth. What should these hires that you've made over the past year and change tell me about your growth strategy for Lower?
Well, I mean, you named two that are really, really well-known influencers in the industry. And I think at least the way we're shaping our, call it leadership structure, is like we have very flat leadership. It is producing managers or top producing LOs directly to executives. We don't have a ton of layers in between. It's like, how do we support our producers? And so from my chair, it's how do we support our producers? Well, it's not going to be, no one needs managed. I mean, if you're in this industry still, you're pretty good. I mean, let's just be honest. So you need supported. So what does that mean? Value created. And you bring in Amir, you bring in Dustin, and they are, I literally just prior to here, Dustin puts on a weekly coaching call that's very prescriptive with our, we'll call it like up and coming LOs, and not new LOs, but those that are, doing 5 deals a month that want to get to 10. Mm-hmm. And it's very prescriptive on, he just rolled out a 12-week challenge and he's doing these things. And that to me is like, that's exactly what we're trying to do, is deploy what's the modern value that we can provide to our sales teams across the country. And then Amir does the exact same thing, trying to get maybe it's the $30 million a year producer to get to the $100 million producer. Like what's that elevated level? And it's the same way. Instead of having like a Wells Fargo style of management structure, we're like anti that. I mean, we're going to have producers in markets that can, and we're going to get them the tools and the tech to let them cook. And then, let's bring in strategic hires in growth to help create value that they may not have otherwise, or they may have to go outside to go get, somewhere else.
Right. I mean, you've built an internal team of really amazing coaches
Yeah.
for your producers. That's a lot of value.
Yeah. And so that was a big initiative. The second big initiative for 2025, which we'll have some announcements here in the next, a couple of weeks, is going to be on really we're delivering online, offline from a lead and marketing perspective. I mean, we're providing value through coaching and through, both how to get more referral partners, but also like how to become a personal brand and influencer in your market. We feel like that's super important. The flip side is also like, how do we help you become just a marketing juggernaut? And so we have some stuff happening on that side of the fence that I can't talk yet about, but pretty soon.
Well, would love to know more about that when you can talk about it. It sounds really interesting. And in general, big congratulations to you again for the deal and for building that tech stack yourself. That's quite an adventure and journey. And thank you so much for joining me today on Powerhouse.
Yeah, Diego, keep up the good work. Thank you.